see from their big receiver?
Laviska Shenault, I think he's a really good player. He's big. He's 6'2", 6'3". He's 220 pounds. Very similar frame to Nikhil. So I think we've seen how we use Nikhil. They do the same thing. So we've been practicing against it since spring. So hopefully that'll help. They've got, I mean, they're a pretty talented group on offense. I think Steven Montez is a really good player. I think the quarterback's a great player. He reminds me a lot of Josh Allen from Wyoming, who we played a couple times at San Diego State. And I mean, he's 6'5", he's 230 pounds. He throws it to Laviska, who's just as big, a couple inches shorter. Jawan Renfrey, number 9, who got hurt in the Nebraska game, is almost identical to Laviska. Coming into the season, that was their plan to use him that way. And I think Laviska's done some really good things, so they've expanded his role. I mean, last year he had 7 catches for 138 yards. And this year he's the leading receiver in the nation. So, I mean, they've got some talent. Number 18, Tony Brown, he's come into his own the last couple weeks. I mean, if you don't tackle him on the perimeter, he's got the ability to take 180 yards. If you miss a tackle, they throw it out there to him quick and see if he can make you miss. So we're going against a really talented group, a really talented team with a bunch of talented players.
It's probably easy to overlook the running game because they really are a balanced offense.
Very much so. I mean, Trayvon McMillan he's a physical back. I mean, he's a grad transfer. He puts his foot in the ground. He'll make one cut, and then he gets vertical, and he'll try and run you over. And then if they want to go with the changeup, they got another little back dynamic, about 5'7", 180. He's fast as can be. He's hard to tackle in the hole. They'll use him on. I mean, and their tendencies as far as, I mean, they'll run those guys in fly motion, but they'll give it to everybody. They'll give it to Laviska. They'll give it to the running backs. I mean, they do it multiple ways, so you can't key off on a lot of those things and know it's coming. They do a lot of different motions. It's not so much the same shifts and trades that we've seen the last couple weeks, but it's a lot more motion to try and get your eyes dirty, especially the guys in the box, get them looking where they don't belong, and then all of a sudden those things break up the middle. And then Montez, he's scary. I mean, he'll pull it and he'll run you over. Now, I listened to Coach McIntyre the other day. He don't want him to, but they're not going to limit him from running the football because he makes the dynamic plays. I mean, if you watch the UCLA game, he had 2 critical plays. There's a point in the third quarter of that game. UCLA's down 21-16. They've got a clean shot on him, and he ducks his head, makes a miss. It's going to be 4th and 12 from about the 30. It's going to be a long field goal into some wind. Instead, it's 1st and goal at the 6, and the next play they walk in and the game's over. And then 2 plays later, it's 28-16, and Tony Brown takes 170, puts them. So I mean, they're dynamic.
Andy, does his physicality set him apart on this?
You know what? It makes it very scary because their run game they've got a lot of plays that are specifically designed for him. I mean, they'll run the fly sweep and bring QB counter back where he's got an extra lead blocker. They'll run the quarterback power. They'll do the wildcat stuff and put Laviska back there, but they'll do it with him. Now, they don't want to get him hurt because over the last 4 games, he's played really well. And they've got enough weapons that they're teaching him how to slide. So we've been talking to our guys all week. I mean, the shot that Jalen took on Lewicki in the Michigan State game, we can't, in the first game against UTSA where he gets the targeting penalty, we can't do that because there's going to be some opportunities where we're going to run up there and try and hit him, and he's going to slide, and if we take that shot, we're going to lose somebody. And he's gotten really good at it. He's not afraid to get 7 or 8 yards and slide and make it a 2nd and 3. He's not one that's going to make you miss. He's big enough to run over you, but I think they're coaching him really well. And when he gets in the open field, he's pretty fast. I mean, he's a big kid. He's 6'5", he's 230. He bounces, tacklers bounce off him when you get pressure in the pocket. He extends plays with his feet. He runs around, he'll throw it across his body and make spectacular throws. So we've got to find a way to keep him in the pocket, and when we have an opportunity to hit him free, we've got to make it count. Yes. Tyler Johnson is a very talented young man. He's big, he's physical. His problem so far is he hasn't been available all the time, different little nagging injuries. Some of that is being new to some of the things we're asking him to do to need football, growing up a little bit. As soon as he figures everything out, he could be a really, really good player. I give him a hard time every day because those guys that hear the word potential with their name, they don't want to hear that. So he's got a lot of potential right now. And as soon as he shakes losing that word, he's going to be a really good player. I think he's going to help us this week. And I look forward to him getting better and better because he's big. Taryn has evolved through the first 4 weeks. He's done a really nice job. He played the most snaps at corner this past weekend. Had 50 reps. His vision and his keys are getting a lot better from where he came. Now it's hard for a junior college kid to come in here, and just the speed of the game is so much faster. I mean, the speed of the game between high school and junior college is different. From junior college to Division I is different. And then with the guys that are lucky enough to go on to the NFL, it's a whole nother level of speed. And it takes a little while to adjust. Luckily, he was here in the spring, so he got to take advantage of those reps. And then now that we got into live game action, from game 1 to game 4, he has made a huge improvement. Taryn's biggest deficit right now in being a great player is his tackling. He's been a lot better the last 2 weeks. Against Washington, he missed a couple tackles that I tell those guys all the time, there's no secrets. I don't say things to make them look bad. I just tell the truth. And if they don't want their feelings to get hurt, then do things better. And so I told them, don't run on there and dive with their ankles. Run up there and dive and hit them right in the chest. And if you hit them in the chest, every once in a while, you're going to take the brunt of it. But guess what? It's okay because they get 1 more yard. When you dive and miss, they get 20. So he's this last week he was a lot better. I think he missed 1 tackle on Saturday night, but he had a couple tackles for loss because he's playing a lot more aggressive. And he's helping us a lot. He's really improved from game 1 to game 4, and I'm really excited as we continue along this for the next 6 games that we've got left.
Coach, to piggyback off that, I mean, through these first few games, I mean, communication overall and rotation, how do you feel that the defense has improved, just even making adjustments with themselves on the field? You said this week, yeah, they're going to have to be disciplined, not have 30 guys. How do you feel the communication?
It's getting better. It's getting better, especially in practice. And usually if you practice while you play. I mean, you've got to practice until you can't get it wrong. And that's what we're trying to instill in them. It's don't practice until you get it right, because if you get it right once and you screw up the next time, it ain't good enough. So practice until you can't get it wrong. Now, I stole that from Nick Saban, and I think he's a genius. So I think he's right. I think that's how you have to do it. And we've gotten a lot better. I mean, we cleaned up. We went from Simon Ayers being just ridiculous above 50 to we had 16 last week. Unfortunately, of those 16, 8 of them were on critical plays. They had 190 yards on 8 plays. They have 206 yards on 70 plays. Well, if you can eliminate those, we can be pretty good on defense. And so we walked through those mistakes on Sunday. We watched them on tape and talked about them, and they're not physical mistakes. So if it was something physical, if you're asking them to do something that they can't do, well, that's a coach's mistake. When it's a mental mistake, we can fix those. Now, if they're making the same mental mistake over and over, that's coaching. They're not doing that right now. It'll show up once. Now, we made some mistakes on Saturday night in the second quarter that we haven't made. They made we called the same stuff against Michigan State, and those are 2- and 3-yard tackles for loss. And instead, one of them pops for a 27-yard touchdown. We continue to fix those things. We'll get better and better each week, and by the end of the football team, we might be a decent defensive football team.
I mean, like you said, there's a lot to clean up from last Saturday, but the fact that you did shut out Oregon State for the last quarter and a half, is that something that to build on?
It is. I mean, I think, like I said, when I first started talking, I think there's 2 really important stats. 1 is points, and 2 is turnovers. We're creating opportunities to get turnovers. We've got 7 so far. We should have about 13. I'm surprised that we don't have more interceptions. At this point, we're there. We've had our hands on a couple balls. We've dropped, I think we've had a chance at probably 5 legitimate interceptions where the ball has hit our hands or we've knocked it down instead of catching it. Well, if we get those 6 turnovers, the fumbles that were on the ground, and those 5, well, now we're up to a pretty significant number of turnovers. So the opportunities are there. They're getting better. Keeping them off the scoreboard, I think the 4th down stop in that 3rd quarter, I think that was a huge momentum shift in the game. I think it was very similar to our game against San Diego State. They're going to have a chance to make it a 1-score game. They just stopped our offense on 4th and 1. They'll have all the momentum. And we made a play on defense. It was Merlin Robertson made a play, and Chase stayed in coverage and did a nice job. So we've held some guys when they get drives down there. We make some mistakes, but we've been able to hold them to some field goals. I think we're at a little over 19 points a game right now. Coming into the season, the goal was if we can hold people from 16 to 18 points, we'd probably win 10 games. Well, I think if we can hold people at 16 to 18 points, we'll have a chance to win 7 more games than 7 we have left. If we don't, then our offense is going to have to be dynamic. Now, if they score 52 points, we're going to win a bunch of games. I told Coach Liggins, I don't know why that was so hard. I mean, it should look pretty easy. Football's not easy, so we got to hold them to the one less than what they score.
Coach, just a more general question. To what extent, in the time you've been here, have you seen Chase kind of grow into a leadership role, not just for the secondary, but the whole defense?
I think Chase, over the time we've been here, has been a big maturation in him. I don't think he did things the way we wanted to early. And so the only way, in my opinion, to get people to play is to take things away. We can run them into the ground until they can't breathe anymore, but most of them are good enough athletes, it doesn't matter. You take what's important away. And what's important to that young man is football. So if he doesn't do things right in school or workouts or practice, then we don't let him play. And we've had to do that a couple times this year. I think over the last 2 weeks, Chase Lucas has practiced as hard as anybody on our football team, and I'm proud of him for it. If he can continue to do that, he'll be a really good player. He played pretty good on Saturday night. They threw some balls at him that he was around that they didn't take some chances at him because he's playing well. So if he continues that, he can be pretty good. And like I said, the last 2 weeks he's done everything we've asked, and he's practiced his tail off, and it showed on Saturday. So hopefully he sees that, and he'll continue it. That's a good question. I think our run, for lack of a better word, I think our run defense stinks right now. Okay, it bugs the tar out of me that people have run the ball the way they have. That is not what I've been accustomed to traditionally. We don't do that. It's not what we're doing, it's how we're doing it. So that means we need to coach them better. We need to make sure that we have an edge when he's the contained guy, he needs to be outside and make sure that he sets that edge. Some of it is physical ability. Some of them, we're putting some guys in positions that they're just not quite ready for. They do some spectacular things at times that makes up for those. So what we need to do is give them a better chance to be successful. So we've addressed some of those things this week. We've made some changes so that we can stop that, but giving up 250 yards, 254 yards rushing to a running back, any running back, it's embarrassing. And so they've been hearing it all week. We've had 3 games now where they've rushed. Washington had 127, Oregon State had 256, and San Diego State had a god-awful amount. So that has been addressed. It will be fixed. It bugs me. Yes. 50-50. They do some really good things. I think the corners have been really good. I think inside at safety, we're hot and cold. I think Ashari Croswell is really becoming a good football player. Played his best game on Saturday night. Got put into a situation where Langston went out with a head injury, and he had to play the remainder of the game. And he did a really nice job. He made a couple mistakes that come with experience. We're in zone coverage one time, the one that they complete for 3rd and 12. Taryn's expecting some help on that play. I told Taryn, don't expect help, just go make a play. Be a great player. Ashari holds the curl a little bit longer, so we don't have a guy running underneath it that complete it. That's an experience deal right there. He made a couple plays in man coverage though, over the top. That those 2 plays early in the year were complete for 25, 30-yard gains. They weren't Saturday night. So I really am excited about his progress and what he's done over the last couple weeks. Jalen Harvey is still, at times he looks like a DB, at times he looks like a receiver trying to play DB. He's still getting better. We're still going to work on his tackling. He's still up there in the nation at his safety position in tackling. And then DeMonte King has played every snap that we've played on defense this year. Makes me a little nervous because if something happens to him, we don't have anybody back there with experience behind him. Those guys, now they're not playing for a reason. If they don't perform in practice up to our expectation, we don't put them in the game. And so we've got a couple guys pushing him for some backup reps. We can make some adjustments right there. So I think at safety we're hot and cold. Sometimes we play well, sometimes we give up plays we shouldn't. I think we've been pretty good at corner. Now those guys that we're going against, they're on scholarship too. And they run good routes and they make plays. But I think on the outside we've made more than we've given up. On the inside, we're probably 50-50. We made, because of Ashari the other night, we've made a couple plays in coverage that we've given up a couple plays in coverage. So as those guys get better, the whole scheme will get better. The thing that we need to get better at quicker, and going back to getting big plays in the run game, our safety support isn't good enough yet. They hear it from me every day because I'm in that room, and we'll fix it. And I mean, we did some stuff in practice the last couple days. They're kind of getting accustomed to how we want them to do it. They're being asked to do something, though, that they've never done in their career. When you're used to playing safety back there at 10 to 12 yards, you come down for late run support, you can fit. When you're a primary run defender and the offense knows it and they crack you every time and you get tired of somebody hitting you in the side of the head, well, you got two choices. You can knock them in the side of the head, or you can be more aggressive and just go make the tackle on the ball carrier. And we're trying to figure that out. So it's been a pretty physical practice this week, I'll tell you that.
You had the two freshman linebackers, as you mentioned, Crosswell. Is Wale someone who's coming on, that he contribute?
Absolutely. Jermaine Lole the last couple weeks has played really well. He's in the rotation. I have no problem in him being in there at any point in the game, especially on passing downs. Now, he's really good against the run. He's really, for a freshman, in the way we do the block reaction stuff that I talk about, he's gotten really good at it. He missed the first 2 games of the season for discipline issues. He was a little bit late to practice one day, so he didn't get to play. And they're starting to figure that out too, that we have an expectation that Coach Edwards has set, and we all hold them accountable. And so he learned from it, and he's been really good. I mean, he shows up in every game at some point for a big play. And the more consistent he is, the more he'll play. But I think those 4 guys, for being true freshmen, have done a fantastic job of where we're at. I mean, people forget we're really young on defense. I mean, we got 7 guys out there that have played 5 games now, meaningful games, and they're getting better each week. We're not good enough yet, though, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating when you hold a team to 38 yards in the first quarter, and you're dominating them, and you give up a big play, and all of a sudden they crumble. That's frustrating. That's when a coach has to step in, because our leadership is a little bit low, because we got so many young guys that you have to kind of build them up, and that's not my personality. So I guess I'm learning, because I've been used to being now. In 2013, I had a secondary that was very similar, but we had older guys up front that were more mature, and so they kind of picked it up. Well, we're young all the way across the board, so that you can't tear into them, because they'll fall apart even worse. And I don't think that's the right thing to do in coaching anyway. I think there's a time for that. Sometimes they need it, but I think you've got to be able to constructively teach them, and they're getting better. But we've got an opportunity to win. I mean, we're going to have an opportunity in the next 7 games to win all of them if we play well, if they prepare right. And they hear it every week. You don't win on Saturday. You win on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and you make Saturday, you give yourself a chance. If you don't give yourself a chance during the week, Saturday you're going to get destroyed. And I think they've done a good job coming to learn that every week. And if we keep making progress, we'll have a chance in the next 7. If we win the next 7, we get a chance at Washington or Stanford or Oregon, whoever's on the other side. That'd be awesome.
Was that honestly a fear of yours back at the full campus, the leadership aspect? Like you said, so many young, inexperienced players in key positions. You kind of feel that it might rear its ugly head when you see them?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple guys that have stepped up that are trying to lead. They've never done it before. So when you have that, sometimes you have some pushback, and the pushback comes from somebody who thinks they're getting picked on. Good leaders don't care if people like them. And in this generation, everybody wants to be liked, Everybody wants to look at their phone and see how many likes they have on something. I mean, that commercial, 100. I mean, that everybody wants that. So these guys have to have that personality that they don't care. And there's not enough of that in this world. I don't care if people like me. So if they can brush off on that, then we'll find somebody that'll step up and it'll be good. And a couple of them are trying. And I think by the end of the year, we'll have somebody that steps up, and the younger guys. Darren Butler's trying to do it, and I think there's times that he's done it and people are responding. The other part of that is you do have to be a good player. Guys don't listen to guys that can't play. When you play with experience and you show them that you can do it, then they'll listen. I think the right guys are trying to. So I think we're getting better. Coaches need to continue to do a good job until somebody takes that realm over, but it's growing.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you guys.
Coach.